welcome to MandoBug Crafts, episode 51. Hey, what's up? I'm MandoBug, also known as Amanda. You can find me pretty much everywhere on the web as MandoBug, like Ravelry and Instagram. I have a blog where you can find link show notes to the episode at mandobugcrafts.blogspot.com. And I also have a Facebook page for the podcast. I guess it's kind of redundant since you get notifications if you subscribe to me on YouTube, but I also post links when new episodes are up on the Facebook page. So let's start the show out with something I've learned. So I've got these socks here, and I'm in love with them. So let me get this out of the way. So this design on these socks is done by using a technique called Roositud. I don't really know how to say it, but I can put the spelling at the bottom of the screen. Roositud. And the sock pattern is called Roosami. I'll put it at the bottom. But I had never done this technique before, and it's really interesting. So if my blinds will cooperate, you can see that the black yarn that I've used here is not knitted into the sock. It's actually weaved, and it's done by carrying extra thread while you're knitting and just moving it from front to back. And then, it leaves the yarn on this side, and you knit back around. There's a special like U-shaped loop that you make to do the second round. I won't really explain that, but I will link to the video that I used to learn how to do it. It was a really nice tutorial that they did on Knitting Daily TV, I believe, and that's the video that I followed to figure out how to do it. Although the sock pattern is a free pattern and it explains the technique to you, but I'm definitely a very visual person, and the video kind of clicked for me. So it's really cool how it's done. You can see on the inside it's all woven. So like I said, it's really just carried. You move the yarn to the front, knit a couple stitches, move the yarn to the back, knit a couple stitches, move the yarn forward, back, forward, back. So it's really not that hard, and you get this really cool design. Its effect is kind of like embroidery without having to embroider, and it's really cool because you can tension it as you knit it, whereas trying to embroider the sock afterwards would be quite a bit more difficult. So as you can see here, this is my right sock, and I've knit down and I've knit the heel flap, but I've been knitting these socks parallel, and you know what? 2 at a time socks just sounds like too much tangled work for me. I haven't tried it yet, although I probably will in the future. I've been knitting a lot of things that I've been knitting in pairs. I've been knitting them parallel because I am definitely a person who gets the second syndrome, the second sock syndrome or the second mitt syndrome. Anything that's knit in pairs, I don't want to make the second one. I want to move on to something else. So I've been knitting these parallel, and this is my left sock, and I've actually knit the heel flap, turned, and I'm working on the gusset. And this free pattern is really cool because it has arch shaping, which I've never knit into socks before, so I'm really interested to see how much better these socks will fit my feet. If you're curious, I'm knitting these socks out of Shibui sock, which I think may be discontinued. I got the yarn from Eat Sleep Knit, and they don't carry it anymore, so that could be just that they don't carry it or that it is discontinued. But it's in the Pagoda colorway, which looks like this, and it's knitting up very interestingly. I mean, you see these big blocks of color, and they're different. I am using 2 skeins. They're only 50-gram balls. So they weren't dyed the same, but they're very blocky in color. If I was just knitting these socks straight out of this yarn, I would not be happy with the way that they look. But because they have this really cool design on them, it's not so bad. And the black yarn is just, you only need like 60 grams, so I just stole it out of the black ball of fingering yarn I had. It was Dream in Color Smushy in Black Pearl, I believe. So yeah, I'm really enjoying knitting these. And so moving on to works in progress, I have started a barley hat. So barley is a free pattern from Tin Can Knits, and it's a really nice little pattern that's got a 1x1 ribbed brim, and then a third of the hat is knit in garter stitch and the rest is knit in stockinette. So this yarn is Dream in Color Classy. This is their old Classy, not the new Classy. So I am interested to get some new Classy to see the difference, because this is, it's not the softest yarn. It's not scratchy, but I've definitely felt softer, worse weight bases. But I really do enjoy the stitch definition of this yarn, and it feels very durable. It's like a very hardy yarn. This is my first time knitting with it. And this is in the Humdrum colorway. I am a fan of Dream in Color's Humdrum colorway, if you haven't noticed. I mean, a fan of orange, period. But I got another 2 inches to go before the decreases, and then it will be done. And I'm very excited to have one of these because Emily has a barley hat that was knit for her by my friend Holly from the Swift Knits podcast, and it doesn't fit her quite yet, but later she will have a barley hat and I will have a barley hat, and we can stroll out on the town. So I've also been doing some spinning, and so I have 2 ounces here of, okay, blinds, maybe this is better, 2 ounces of, this is Snow Day. If you may have seen my previous episode, I dyed some 50/50 merino tencel, and I had Snow Day and Snow Night. The winner chose Snow Night, which I was very happy about because I wanted to keep Snow Day. And I got to. So I'm spinning it at a chain ply fingering weight. So I should have some nice fingering weight to make into a lovely, I'm thinking shallow scarf. Now I've made a shallow scarf in the past. It has these really cute little lace panels that can be beaded, and I think this would be gorgeous. Or actually, it's a cowl, a shallows cowl, and I really love mine, and I think this would make a really nice one. This is what the fiber look like, kind of. You know, this is what I have left, besides what Chester decided to help me with. You know, that cat, I had it in the living room hanging on my wheel, and he left it alone for days and days, and then one day I came out and looked at it, and this was on the floor, and I should be able to still spin it. It's not super bad. I'm just gonna have to pick through it and align the fibers and like pick stuff out of it, because I don't really know he got into it, and I'm pretty sure he ate some of it. You know, pets, right? So I think that's going nicely. And then I also cast on my very first cardigan, so I'm really excited about this project. This is the Hito Fude cardigan by, you know, I'm not even going to try because I don't know how to pronounce it. It'll just be at the bottom of the screen. But this is a paid for pattern, but it's really cheap. It's like, I think I paid like $1.75 when I bought it. Well, you know, of course it's exchange rate. I think it's in, is it Japanese yen? I think that's what it is. It's like 200, which at the time I purchased it, like I said, was only $1.74. So it's a very cheap pattern. And it's this lace cardigan. I'm sure you've seen it. It's absolutely gorgeous. And I'm knitting it out of Tosh Merino Light in the Turn colorway, which is perfect. I can't wait to finish this and be able to wear this. I've never knit with a single ply yarn before, and it's really soft. But it's scaring me because it's so barely held together. It could just be the spinner and me going, is this gonna last? But so far I'm happy, and I've just got the beginning here, and I've got a couple more repeats to go before I can bind off the sleeves and continue on down. But I'm very happy with this project so far. So moving on to finished objects, right? It's been like a month and a half since I recorded, so I finished quite a bit. Here's something small that I finished. I crocheted this little mouse out of some hand spun scraps and stuffed it with some wool scraps from processing wool. You know, the little neppy short bits that you get when you're processing wool. And Chester has been loving this little guy. So this is just a free pattern by Anne Marie's Hack Blog. And it's really cool because this mouse is crocheted in one piece. The ears aren't sewn on, so they are indestructible. And the tail, in the original pattern, she has you make the tail and sew the tail on, but it's really easy to just, when you finish, take your leftover yarn and chain a tail, and that's what I did. So the tail is not sewn on either, and so he is very sturdy and durable for my Chester kitty who likes to destroy things. So it's a nice little pattern if you have cats. And then I also finished a pair of socks for Josh. Now I apologize, I don't have sock blockers, and he's been wearing these pretty much since I finished them. They've probably gone through the washing machine like at least 5 times, so it's hard to show them. But these socks are called Feeny by Stephanie Vanderlinden. They're part of the Op Art Socks book, and the original pattern, of course, is a regular sock that goes all the way up, but my husband, Picky, likes ankle socks only, so I modified the pattern to make them ankle socks, which I felt like a pattern writer doing that because I had to change a lot, and actually the first time I tried to alter them it didn't work out and I had to rip back and lost like 4 hours of knitting, and I was very frustrated. But if you have the book, I have detailed instructions on how to modify them into ankle socks, at least for his size foot, which is the men's 9 to 10, without giving the pattern away. You know, a lot of it says, you know, follow pattern, and then I have the small adjustments that I made in there. So I knit these out of Knit Pick Stroll, and this was my first time knitting with the Knit Pick Stroll. The yarn is very soft, but as I had read in reviews, it is very pilly. So I'll show you the other sock too, because I made matching mismatches. So I think this was the Midnight Blue or Heather. You know, it's linked in my on my project page. And the green is their brights, the Knit Pick Stroll brights, and it is, like, as you can tell, very bright. So I'm trying to stretch them open for you because they're not blocked. They just came out of the dryer. And his toes are very short because I had to modify those too, because this is knit this way. So you can't really adjust this unless you change the cast-on, but then the number of repeats of the pattern, and it was gonna be a mess. So I just made the toe really short, and they fit perfect. But yeah, matching mismatches. And so if I show you up close, you can see the yarn has definitely started to get very pilly. But he wears them a lot, and we run them through the washer and dryer. So I'm happy with the way that they're holding up, and he is too, so no complaints there, especially because I got the yarn like 50% off because I bought it with the Black Friday deal that they had going on. So I'm pretty sure that these socks only cost me $5, and I have leftovers, so he can't lose. Then I also finished some, I mean, they're fingerless mitts, right? Because there's no fingertips. These are the are they? Yeah, FrankenFingers. The FrankenFingers mitts by Elizabeth Green Musselman, and she is the host of the Dark Matter Knits podcast. And this was a great pattern. So this pattern was a paid-for pattern on Ravelry, and it was very much worth the purchase. It's really cool because this pattern is great for self-striping yarns, as you can see is what I used, and you can change the fingers to match the different colors. Now I knit, of course, mine out of only a 2-color self-striping, but if you had, you know, a multiple colored self-striping yarn, you could do each finger a different color, or repeat fingers like I did, or whatever. And the other thing about her pattern is she has video tutorials on some of the trickier parts of the gloves. So if you've never knit fingers into gloves before and you're kind of nervous about it, if you buy this pattern, she has, I mean, even if you don't buy it, because the videos are on YouTube, but it's specifically for this pattern, but they were great videos, and I also think it's a good beginner pattern if you've never knit gloves before, because it's ribbed, so there's a really good chance that it's going to fit you. I can put these gloves on my husband's hands, which his hands are like paws, and they fit him as well, and they fit me, and they're not stretched out when he wears them because of the ribbing. My only complaint is that I personally, to make this striping sequence the way that I wanted to, I knit the palm of my hand a little too long, but I wanted it to match, I wanted it to end on the color like it did. But you can't really tell, you really can't tell at all, but it kind of bunches in my palm after a while, but it's easily fixed by me pulling it down. And this yarn, so this yarn is Penguin Soup Emperor Sock in the Jack colorway. So this was the second color, this was the second skein for my Nightmare Before Christmas Club, and I really like what she chose to do with it. It definitely looks like his suit. So now I've made fingerless gloves out of my first 2 yarns from the 3 yarn club, so now I pretty much have to make fingerless or finger or mitts or whatever. I have to make a pair of gloves of some sort for my hands out of the 3rd skein of yarn. So very excited to see that when it comes in. I got a notification that it's shipped, so I can't wait till it gets here, and once I see the yarn I'll figure out what I want to do with it. Because my Spatterdash mitts definitely, I think, match the yarn well, and these Franken mitts matched this yarn very well, so yeah. Then also I finished spinning my bat that I had showed you guys last week. This is just a chain plied yarn. It's blended Jacob from Dingo. He's the Jacob sheep. It's 1.75 ounces, 101 yards, so it's about a worsted weight, and it did exactly what I thought. It poofed up after I chain plied it and washed it, and it's a very hardy yarn. It's very soft, a little fuzzy because I spun it woolen, and it was prepped as a bat, so I'm really excited with how this yarn turned out. And I mentioned that it was a little lanolin-y for my liking. When I washed it, a lot of lanolin washed out, so the bath was kind of yellow, which I was surprised because I did what I was supposed to get the lanolin out. I think I just might have washed the fleece in too big of batches, and so I didn't get enough lanolin out that way. So next time I process a fleece, I'll just make sure to do smaller batches, because if I remember correctly, I was kind of in a hurry to get this all washed because I wanted all the wool washed before Emily came. So I finished that, and then I also finished this blanket for Emily just in time for the Seahawks playoff game last week, in which they won, so she will be wrapped in this again this weekend. This was the corner to corner throw, and it's a free pattern on Ravelry, and it's crochet, and it's a very quick blanket. You crochet it from corner to corner, and yeah, I've made one before, and it's a very, popcorn knitting. This is like popcorn crochet. It's very, it's kind of like the granny square in a way that you're doing chunks of 3 double crochet, but where you crochet is a little different. But if you like granny square, and that kind of mindless crochet, you should check this pattern out because it is very simple and it goes really fast. I crocheted this out of Hobby Lobbies. I love this yarn in various colorways. They'll be on my project page, but I'm happy with how that turned out. So moving on to check it out. I had a couple of you guys ask me why my skeins look so funny, right? Like, why is my skein so long and skinny? And that's because of my ball winder. So I used a coupon to get the Boy electric ball winder from Hobby Lobby for either 40 or 50% off. So the subtotal came out to be about $45–50, which is about the price you would pay for a manual ball winder. So I was like, why get a manual one when you can get an electric one? So I have an electric Boy ball winder, and the way that it winds the balls is very tight tension, and I think that's why I get these long skeins, because when it's on the ball winder it's about this big, but it's wrapped so tightly that when I pull it off it kind of like worms out. I made a short little video and I'll go ahead and insert that here. So I have my Swift all loaded up here with some yarn. And then over here is my ball winder. It's the electric Boy ball winder. And I have the yarn just threaded on here. There's a slit in the end that secures the yarn. And then it comes up through this hole, gets round around that wire, and then it's finally slipped into this little hole here. There's a tiny little notch that it goes through. And then it just gets turned on. So this is really loud, so I'm probably going to quiet it down. So now that it's done winding on, I have this big plump cake. But you can see how skinny it is compared to most. But when I pull it off is when it looks funny. So it just slides right off the tip here. And now I have my cake. That looks a little different than most people's. It tends to get long and skinny, and I think it's just how tight it was wound. So yeah, that's all I got for check it out. Current events, I just wanted to briefly mention that I'm participating in the Eat Sleep knit-alongs this year. If you are not familiar, Eat Sleep Knit is an online yarn store based out of Smyrna, Georgia, which is where I'm at, so I get like literally next day shipping when I buy from them. So it works out well for me. They do this thing called the Yarnathon, where everyone's kind of competing to buy a marathon worth of yarn, which I don't ever expect to buy a marathon's worth of yarn, but when you hit milestones along the way, you get little freebies, and you're like, last year they introduced teams, and this year there's new teams. So I am on Team Fleecy Foxes, which I thought was super appropriate because of all my fleeces that I have, and of course foxes are cute, right? So I have purchased my first milestone, which is a mile's worth of yarn, and I got my little package, which is really awesome. If you don't want to know what the first milestone is, because you want to be surprised, please skip ahead, because I'm going to share what I received. I got a little welcome card and a little sticker and this really cool mini patterns that was written by the Mochi Mochi Land, and they're for each of the team mascots. So I'm on the Fleecy Foxes, but there's I think they're the Woolly Walruses or something like that, and the Cowlettes and the Yarnicorns. So you get the patterns for each of them, and I thought that was super cute. Of course, I need to knit my mascot for some team spirit. But this year they have 12 knit-alongs that they're doing, and they told you them all up front, and they're focusing on 3 a quarter. And I've went ahead and started for those. So to be eligible, you have to use their yarn. And then other than that, there's rules for each knit-along. So the first knit-along is color work, and you had to choose from a list of patterns that they provided, and that's what these socks are. These socks are one of the options, and I went ahead and started. And then the second knit-along is hats or headgear, and that's what my barley hat is for. And then the third knit-along is shawls, which I haven't cast on for yet, but I have an idea in mind. And then I've already started the fourth knit-along as well, even though it's not featured until next quarter. And that's the Hito Fude cardigan, specifically this cardigan. So some of the knit-alongs are flexible, some are not. But I do plan to complete all 12 of the knit-alongs this year. Fingers crossed. You get bonus yards towards your yarnathon, which means you hit your milestones faster without having to pay for anything except for the yarn that you made the projects with, unless you had yarn in stash, which I did. So that works out very well. And then, yeah, I don't remember if I mentioned the badges, but they have badges as well, where you get points instead of yardage, and the points can be used for various things. So if you're into this kind of friendly competition, I definitely recommend checking out their website. They carry a lot of really nice popular yarns. So yeah. Other than that, I don't have any upcoming events. So if you're interested, I'd like to take a minute to talk about my new baby. So you guys haven't seen me in over a month and a half because I was super duper pregnant. And so I finally did give birth to Emily on December 30th. I mean, you know, labor is broken up into many stages anyways. I woke up really early in the morning on the 30th a couple times with some light contractions, but I kept going back to bed because they were really nothing. I finally checked into the hospital around 3:30, and Emily was born at 8:20. So she came out so cute and super healthy. She was 6 pounds 15 ounces, 20 inches long, and just the love of my life. So the birth was great, exactly what I wanted, no complications, and Emily is just a healthy, happy baby. And I'm doing great now. You know, the little bit of recovery that I needed, I'm feeling a lot better. It's been about 2.5 weeks now, and so of course Emily is 2.5 weeks old. She's sleeping right now while Josh watches her so that I can record. I thought about sharing her with you guys on here, but I really don't want to wake her up. So I will just share some pictures of her with you at the end of the podcast. So thank you all for the congratulations and well wishes. I really appreciate it. And we're just super happy. She's a happy little baby, except for when she gets cranky tired. then she gets a little fussy. But other than that, things are going really well, and I'm just super happy to be a new mom, and Josh is super happy to be a dad, and there's just a lot of happiness and love in this house. So she is quite a handful, you know, because she really depends on me for everything. So I don't know how often I will be recording, because I kind of need Josh to be here to watch her while she sleeps, to kind of let me get away from her to record, because her sleeping patterns are still a little sporadic. Sometimes she'll sleep for 3-4 hours, but sometimes she'll only sleep for 30 minutes to an hour. It really depends on her feeding schedule. I am breastfeeding, so sometimes she just cluster feeds and then she'll sleep, and then sometimes it doesn't go quite like that. So I'll try to record when I can. I know that I'll be doing a lot of knitting. I still have 3 weeks before I have to go back to work, and when she does sleep, I get a lot of time to craft. So, like I said, I'll try to record when I can, but I can't make any promises. I'm hoping to maybe do more than once a month, but it might only be once a month. It is what it is. But thank you guys for sharing a part of your day with me, and I hope that you made something awesome while you shared time with me, and I will see you next time I record. Happy crafting! Bye!